And I've come to the conclusion for me that like if I'm eating if I'm eating cookies, more often than not, I'd be like, you know, this cookie's okay, but I would rather have my own uh, cookies. Also, we're not gonna be taking a lot of stuff in here because I don't need the money. All right, so Commissioner notice. Oh, there's vendors here too. Okay, that's right. Okay, so yeah, I will I will take some stuff. I prefer Balkan sweets just because they aren't too sugary and they have more stomachable for me. Just plus that's what I grew up with, so that maybe play. Oh, I think for sure like what you're used to definitely has impact on like or what you're eating like while growing up. I think that's gonna have a hello robot.
Ralphie, fly far, fly fast.
Who are you? Exciting bee. Was that sound you played some sort of memory glitch? What's an iBot doing here? So that must have been pretty advanced engineering facilities for remote scanning. You build copies? Can you cover me? Cool, so we have a follower now? But like, for me, like, when I grew up, I had, like, a lot of, like, those cakes, those, like, store-bought cookies, like, cupcake, like, that was, like, as a kid, like, I ate more of that growing up, so I think I'm more used to it, whereas, like, again, for you, if you're not used to that, I'm torn here. This Twitch chat, you're so interesting to me, but I also want to read this robot.
Reporting full success on great job team.
Is recording for your development, or are you saying you can override? The most sweets are sweet with light creams, honey, fruits, and such. Yeah, and see, my dad's more into that kind of stuff, but again, like that's kind of he wasn't into like the super processed sugars. Like he didn't grow up with them. Whereas like for me, like I've had more of them growing up. So like super sweet things like pop and like cakes and stuff, are more palatable to me. And my brother really loves that stuff. If you bought my brother a store bought cake, he could eat the whole thing easily, easily. Whereas like my dad prefers like fruits. All right, let's keep moving. Sorry, I'm not really paying attention to the robot. Hope that's okay with you guys. And I lost my train of thought. Basically, I think it basically came down to what you eat as a kid is going to affect your taste as you grow up. But I also think in this society, like, there's a lot more like processed sugars, like especially in like North America. Like people like there's a lot more sugar like in general. I think in our foods, like a lot more like processed stuff. So I think people get a taste for that, and that's their that's what they like. Oh, it needs electricity. Thank you. Oh. We've done it. Yeah, you can't do sodas. The only soda I enjoy is Cocta. And I have no idea what Cocta is. I think it's made of herbs and such. Oh, and that, again, like, that makes sense, right? It's like how some people can do spicy foods and others don't have a taste for it or an appreciation. Like, I can eat spicy foods, but I don't seek it out. Whereas, like, I know some people love spicy foods. Or root vegetables, like, going different area of subject. Different subject. Oh, my goodness. English is tough. Growing up, I didn't have... Like, root vegetables are okay, so, like, that means, like, potatoes, yams, that kind of stuff. Like I'm fine with eating them, but I don't love them. Whereas my friend's very, very into them. Like, he loves his yams and sweet potatoes and stuff. Okay, so content only had 2 out of 7. I don't think it'll be shotgun. Front. Yep, there you go. Oh, you love spicy foods. I bet. You probably have a much higher tolerance for spicy foods than I do. I would say like as far as your average person's concerned, I think my spice tolerance is probably average or below average. Like I'm not very good at eating spicy foods. Unlock hydraulics access door. All right. Whereas I'm sure you can eat the spice. Like, you're probably the person who Ooh, that might be good to have. I'm sure you're the person who goes to restaurants, gets the super spicy wings with you and your friends, and your friends can't eat the spicy chicken wings, but you eat them no problem. That's what I'm imagining the kind of person you are. 100%. I have no doubt in my mind. And even if you deny it, I don't know if I'll believe you. I've already created this fiction in my head about what kind of person you may or may not be. So there you go. I've just made assumptions about you. How does that make you feel? What is this? You found an upgrade that can be used to upgrade EDE. Okay. That's actually really good. So can you repair my stuff? Talk to... I think it might be talk to... Can you repair my weapon? Okay, so that's... Yeah, we just talked to him through the, that one. Oh, spicy chicken wings, like, oh, you loved them. Okay, so why... Okay, I feel like there's some, there's a tragedy here about, like, how you used to love chicken wings, but now you don't eat them anymore. Like, what happened? Like, did you have, like, a very, like, painful, like, breakup or something? Where it's, like, you know, you had, like, these painful, like, memories where, you're eating chicken wings, and then, like, some guy came in and, threw a garbage can on you or something. You're just like, nah, I just can't eat chicken wings anymore. It's just not quite the same. Oh. Let's try this one more time. Got it. There's a pistol. We'll take that. Oh, you're right. You're vegetarian. Ah, you told me last week, and I just didn't pay attention. I'm terrible. See, this is why like this is bad for you, right? Because I ask you for all these questions, like all like this knowledge pool, and then like, you just give it to me. But then what ends up happening is like I just keep forgetting. Like you're teaching a man how to fish, but then like he just not only does he lose the fishing rod, he suffers from amnesia and he just can't fish anymore. Like that's me right now, 100%. Like this is like bleak existence. Like hopefully like you like watching me makes you think it's like wow, like I'm glad I'm not this forgetful. Cause that's bad. Conductor, I don't want any of these. This is bad. Blah. Oh, you say it's okay. I mean, like, that's just it. Like, right now it's okay, but I'm wondering, like, how many questions I need to ask for, like, your patience worse. Then, like, every week, like, I'm going to ask you, it's like, oh, why don't you eat meat? And, like, 13 weeks from now, it's, like, if you're still watching, you're just be like, I've told you for the thousandth time, like, I'm vegetarian. And I'm just like, wait, what? Excuse me? Like, I'm sure some people are going to, like, watch these videos, like, at a later date, and it's like, oh, my God, this guy has asked the same question 14 times already. And that's just the life I live. It's time to become a better fisher. I'm not good at fishing. Fishing is not a life skill I've really developed. Memory's just as bad. Most likely work. I mean, it depends on, like, here's the thing, though, right? Like, I'm partly being facetious here. Yeah, let's deactivate robot security. That sounds good. Alright, it's inactive. So, in the context of this, like, last week he told me, yes, you're a vegetarian. And I was like, now, like, I'm starting to remember the details. Like, oh, yeah, like, you know, you went vegetarian, like, for the sake of your dad, which I thought was awesome. It's like, you know, because you care for your dad so much. Like, that was like, duh, that's cute. And I don't mean that in a demeaning way. Like, I actually think that's great. And it's like, I remember that now, but then we had this conversation, but then I don't use that knowledge for the rest of the week. Like, it's not like I was at work and I was like, you know, what's a really important piece of information? One of my Twitch viewers, like, they're a vegetarian, and my boss be like, oh, that's really good, thank you for sharing that information, Ryan. I'm like, you know what, I'm glad to have shared it, and then like we have like this really deep bonding experience. That didn't happen at work. So I think that's just what it is because we don't use that knowledge. Like we just forget about it. And same thing for all the stuff I learned in university. Like I learned a lot of like mathematical proofs in university, but then like I just didn't know it or I didn't use it, so I lost it. Excuse me. It's like I had the at one point in my life I knew the proof for that there's infinitely many prime numbers, and I've since then forgotten the proof. Prepare the terminal. Oh, you've never... I've actually gone fishing. I'm just not good at fishing. I've had the experience of fishing. I've just, like... I just don't do fishing. Hack security turrets. What's going on? Oh, hey, robot. We are going to smash you. Got you. Oh, you can't stand for... Like, here's the thing. Like... Proofs for me, and like you have to remember, I come from a math background. It depends on the proof. Some proofs, like you look at them, it's like, okay, I'm completely lost. I don't know what's going on. Like it's just not interesting for me. Other proofs, like you go through, it's like, oh, like this is interesting. Like I don't really know what's going on. And then you go through, and then they do the actual proofs. Like there's like the one step in the proof where everything comes together. And you're like, oh, that's cool. Like that's awesome. Like. That happened a lot for me in my number theory course. There'd be a lot of proofs where it's like at first like, okay, I don't really know where they're going with this, but like I'm curious. And then they do the proof and you're like, that's actually really cool. I have an appreciation for mathematical proofs because I think in a lot of ways they're clever because like they okay. Oh, and there's for save box. But I understand like if people don't like proofs, like they can be very dry, like don't get me wrong, but I also think there's a lot of beauty in them too.
Dr. Grant? What the hell?
Or is some knowledge you can offer fishing lessons even though they might not be. Yeah, no, if you're asking me for fishing lessons, you're asking the wrong person. Lessons I would be most confident in giving.
Don't be ridiculous. It's just a machine.
Get the hell!
Fine, Ridley.
It sounds like Dr. Whitley really cared about you. So the robots had a sad past. That's what I've gotten for that. Okay, so things that I could feel like... Now, we already said these guys. The only lessons I'd feel somewhat comfortable like giving would be telling someone about StarCraft. StarCraft 2. That's one lesson. Positive thinking, I'd feel somewhat comfortable like talk about that. What else? I don't even feel comfortable like telling people like computer programming or mathematics or even philosophy because like I don't feel confident about, because I think for those fields like I just feel like there's so much I haven't or I don't know about those that I would feel disingenuous trying to tell people about them because there's so much to them. I don't even know how to tie knots, so I'd be able to learn a lot about fishing if I ever cared to learn. Like, well, see, and that's just it. Like, I think for me, like, for a lot of, like, practical things, like tying knots and stuff, like, I don't have a lot of... It depends what we're talking about. So if we're talking about cars, like, I'm helpless. Like, someone could ask me, like, hey, do you know the difference between this car and a truck? And I'm like, there's a difference between cars and trucks. Like, I exaggerate a little bit, but, like, I'm really bad at cars. But some people don't even know how to pitch a tent, whereas, like, I know how to pitch a tent. Like, I have some experience camping. I might be able to start a fire, but I'm not quite sure. What else? Like, I feel like my knowledge pool is very limited. A harmonica, I don't really want any of these. What is this? Oh, can we hack this? Alright, brainwaves. 1 out of 10. Decimating... Done removed.